There are plenty of things you're warned not to do in Asia, especially when it comes to the supernatural. But above all, there's one rule you should never break. Do you know what that is? You should never pick up a random umbrella you find lying around. Why? Because in Hong Kong and southern China, many people believe that abandoned umbrellas aren't just forgotten belongings. They may actually already be occupied. Picking one up could mean taking home more than just a rain cover. It could mean inviting a spirit to follow you. Many people in Hong Kong would rather just get soaked in the rain if they forgot to bring an umbrella, rather than pick up random umbrellas. Welcome back to another episode of Hong Kong Horror. I'm your narrator, Simon. Tonight, I've got some stories revolving around umbrellas that might just change the way you look at them forever. And after the stories, I'll share some of my thoughts on what I think happened from a Cantonese cultural perspective. Get comfortable, and let's dive right in. Our first story for tonight was shared by a woman in Hong Kong. Let's call her Emily. She lived in Sai Kung in one of the village houses. Unlike many in the city, she had the luxury of having a bit more space on her property. One of the perks of living in the village, she decided to fix it up and make it nicer so that she could invite friends over to just hang out or even have some barbecues up there. She strung up rows of Christmas lights along the walls, so at night, the whole place had this soft, warm glow. It was cozy, almost festive. It was coming together really well. She even set up a small table where she liked to sit in the mornings with her coffee. The only thing missing, she thought, was a big sun umbrella, something to block out the strong Hong Kong sun during the day. At first, Emily thought about just buying a brand new one, but once she started looking around, she quickly realized those big sun umbrellas weren't as cheap as she expected. The nice brand name ones cost a lot more than she wanted to spend. So after browsing through new ones for a while, she decided to just check the secondhand listings instead. After all, who doesn't like saving a bit of money, right? The secondhand listings were, of course, a fraction of the price of buying new, but most of them looked rough. Faded fabric, bent poles, umbrellas that had clearly been sitting out in the sun for far too long. No wonder they were so cheap. Then, as Emily scrolled further, one listing caught her attention. The photos showed a sun umbrella that looked practically brand new. And the thing that made her stop scrolling, it was listed as free. Emily clicked right away, expecting some kind of trick. Lots of people list things as free just to draw attention, but when you click into it and read the description, you find out there's actually a price. But not this one. The description was straightforward. The family was moving overseas and needed to get rid of everything as soon as possible. And this wasn't just any umbrella, it was a brand name model. The same exact brand Emily had been considering buying new, except here, it was offered for nothing. Emily immediately reached out to the seller, half expecting no response, but almost instantly, a message came back, as if he had been sitting there waiting for someone to reach out. He explained again that his family was relocating, and they were in a rush to clear everything out. If she wanted it, she would have to come by tonight. He won't be home, so he would set it outside for her, but it would have to be by tonight. He gave her the pickup address, and to Emily's surprise, it was only a short drive away in a neighboring village. Not wanting to miss out on such a steal, she agreed immediately. She grabbed her keys and decided to head over right away, before someone else got there first. The seller told her that he would leave it outside the front door. She could just pick it up whenever she gets there. Emily thought the whole thing was a little strange. The man's quick reply, the urgency, it felt a little bit off. But then again, moving overseas must be stressful, especially moving your whole family. She told herself he must be busy with packing and getting everything sorted out before leaving, so she brushed it off. She followed her GPS through the narrow winding streets of Sai Kung until she finally reached the address. The house was a typical Hong Kong village house, concrete, a little weathered, 3 stories high. It was completely dark inside. And there it was, the sun umbrella, folded neatly, propped against the wall outside by the front door, waiting to be picked up by her. Emily parked up, got out, and walked up to grab it. The umbrella was heavier than she expected. She had to half carry, half drag it across the ground before wrestling it into the trunk of her car. As she slammed the trunk shut and got back behind the wheel, something made her glance up. One of the windows upstairs, just for a split second, blinds shifted, like someone had been watching her, and quickly let them drop back into place the moment she looked up. Emily froze. The family was supposed to be gone. The house was supposed to be empty, according to the seller. A chill ran up her spine. Without lingering any longer, she put the car in reverse and pulled away from the house, the uneasy feeling following her all the way back down the dark village road. By the time Emily got home, the uneasy feeling had already faded. In its place was excitement. She couldn't believe her luck. A brand new sun umbrella in almost perfect condition, and she didn't have to pay a single dollar for it. She was already picturing it set up on the rooftop, casting shade over her table, the Christmas lights glowing in the background. It was going to be perfect. But not tonight. It was late, and the umbrella was heavy. She decided she'd wait until morning to bring it upstairs. For now, she just left it in the trunk of her car and headed inside, eager to deal with it in the daylight. Later that night, Emily thought she should at least thank the man for leaving the umbrella out for her. She opened up the original chat, ready to send a quick message. But to her surprise, the conversation was already gone. The seller had left the chat completely. She tried looking for his profile again, thinking maybe she clicked the wrong thing. But no, it was as if his entire account had been deleted. Emily frowned. It was strange, sure, but maybe he had closed the account after clearing out the last of his stuff. She told herself not to overthink it. Still, it nagged at her a little as she got ready for bed. That night, Emily was jolted out of a deep sleep by a sound she hadn't heard in years, her car alarm. It was blaring at full volume at 3:30 in the morning, so loud it shook her awake. At first, half asleep, she assumed it was someone else's car down the road. But after a few minutes, when the wailing refused to stop, she realized it was hers. She rushed outside, heart pounding, terrified that the noise would wake the entire village. The alarm lights were flashing, reflecting off the walls of her house. She quickly shut it off, then circled the car, scanning the shadows for any sign of movement. Maybe one of the village dogs had bumped against her car, she thought. They're always out and about at night. But there was nothing. No sound, no movement. The night was dead still. It seemed like the alarm had gone off for no reason at all. Exhausted, and still groggy from being woken up so suddenly, Emily retreated back inside and tried to push the unease out of her mind and went back to sleep. The next morning, she finally dragged the umbrella out of the trunk and set it up on her rooftop. It was perfect. Her rooftop was finally complete. She spent the morning up there under the umbrella, sipping her coffee, proud of herself for scoring such a great deal on this umbrella. But that's when the nightmare started. That night, while Emily was relaxing in her living room, the television humming in the background, she heard a faint knocking. Not from the front door. It was coming from above, from the glass door that opened onto her rooftop. At first she dismissed it. She lived alone, and there was no way anyone could get up to the roof from the outside. It had to be her imagination. But then, it came again. Emily froze. She quickly muted her TV and stood up, listening carefully. There it was again. This time, she was sure of it. The sound had come from upstairs. Moments later, the sound came a third time. It was loud this time, as if someone was pounding hard on the door. Her stomach tightened, heart racing. She turned on every light in the house and made her way slowly up the staircase. At the top, she approached the glass door cautiously. Beyond it, her rooftop glowed faintly under the strings of Christmas lights she had hung. Emily leaned in, peering carefully through the glass. There was nothing. No one was out there. Emily carefully slid the glass door open. the night air heavy and still. She stepped out, cautiously, scanning the rooftop. That's when she noticed something strange. The umbrella was no longer standing upright in the center of the table where she had left it earlier that day. Instead, it was folded shut and leaning against the wall by the glass door. Her stomach dropped. She remembered clearly she had left it open that morning, secured through the hole in the table. Before she could process it, her eyes caught something else. Someone was sitting in her chair. The same chair where she always sipped her coffee in the mornings. It was a man, maybe in his 50s, wearing something that looked like a hospital gown. He sat there casually, facing out into the darkness beyond the rooftop. He didn't look at her. He didn't move. He just sat there, mumbling softly to himself, as if she didn't exist at all. Terror gripped Emily. She slowly backed toward the door, careful not to make a sound, and slipped back inside. Once the door was locked, she bolted downstairs, back to her living room, grabbed her phone, and called the police. When they arrived, she led them back upstairs to the rooftop. There was nothing. The man was gone. The rooftop was empty. And the umbrella? It was once again back in the center of the table, secured, exactly as she remembered leaving it that morning. Emily couldn't explain what was going on. That night, the knocking returned, on and off, sporadically. She didn't sleep at all. The next morning, Emily finally gathered her courage. She went back up to the rooftop, removed the umbrella from the table, and wrestled it back down to her car. She put it in her trunk, determined to return it. When she arrived at the house where she picked it up from, her stomach dropped. In the daylight, the place looked completely different. Maybe it was because it was dark the first time, but now she could see clearly. The walls were stained, the paint peeling, the windows were clouded with dust. Compared to the other homes in the village, this house looked old, abandoned, as if no one had lived here for years. Still, Emily propped the umbrella neatly back against the wall by the front door, the same place she had found it. That's when she realized the umbrella that she took out of her trunk was no longer the new umbrella she had been using. It was now an old, tattered umbrella. It looked as if it had been used for years. It was dusty and sun-faded. Terrified, Emily quickly turned and walked back toward her car. Just as she was about to climb back into the driver's seat, she noticed an older woman walking slowly along the village road. Something in Emily's gut told her to ask. "Guy, Papa?" "Excuse me, ma'am," Emily called out politely. "Do you know the man who lived in this house? He told me yesterday that he was emigrating. Do you know if he's already left Hong Kong?" The old woman stopped walking, leaning on her cane. She turned slowly, her expression puzzled. After a moment, she shook her head firmly and waved her hand. "Moa, Moa, Moa. No one lives here. Do you have the correct house? No one's lived here for a very long time. I grew up in this village, and this house has been empty for years, many years." Emily's stomach tightened as the woman went on. "There used to be a couple here, with 2 children. They were planning to move to the UK, but the husband fell ill before they could leave. He passed away not long after. The wife and children eventually did immigrate, but after that, this place has stood empty. Why do you ask? Are you a relative? If you are, please do something about this house. It's an eyesore. You have to maintain it." Emily's mind went blank. Her mouth moved before she could think. Yes, relative. Sorry. Thank you for your time." She quickly bowed her head, hurried back to her car, and drove off without looking back. As Emily drove out of the village, her hands tight on the wheel, a sudden thought struck her. Her car had an interior camera, one of those dash cam systems that automatically recorded whenever movement was detected inside. Heart pounding, she pulled over to the side of the road and opened the app, scrolling through the saved clips. To her shock, more than 10 new videos had been recorded the night the alarm had gone off. She tapped the first one, and her breath caught in her throat. The screen showed the interior of her car, and in the back seat, someone was sitting there. It was the same man she had seen on the rooftop. middle-aged, hollow-eyed, in a hospital gown. He was slouched in the back, mumbling to himself. Emily raised the volume. His voice was faint, broken, repeating the same line over and over. "We'll go soon. We'll go soon. As soon as I'm better, we'll go." She fumbled to click the second video, but before it could load, the whole system froze. The screen glitched, flickered, and then went blank. Once it came back on, all of the recordings were gone. Every single file had vanished without a trace. Emily tried to recover them, frantic, desperate, but nothing worked. It was as if they had never been there at all. Upon returning the umbrella, the strange occurrences and sounds stopped in her home. Eventually, Emily ended up purchasing a sun umbrella, brand new, at full price. Alright, before I share what I think happened here, let's go through our next story first. Then, at the end, I'll share what I think happened from a Chinese cultural perspective. This next story was shared by a man in Hong Kong. Let's call him Benny. Benny worked in the food court at a mall at the time. One night, as he was working, the rain fell relentlessly, sheets of water scattering across the streets. Most people who were outside rushed for cover, their footsteps splashing through shallow pools forming on the ground. Luckily, Benny was still scheduled to work a few more hours, so hopefully it would die down by the time his shift ended, because he totally forgot to bring his umbrella. Since the weather was horrible, it was pretty empty at work. The mall in general was pretty much a ghost town now, as all of the guests were rushing home. Benny passed the time scrolling on his phone, waiting to go home himself. He started his closing duties early, and by the time 9 p.m. rolled around, he was ready to go home. The rain was still as strong as ever outside. The bus stop wasn't too far. It was literally right across the street, but without an umbrella, that short little walk might as well have been a swim. It would have been soaked through in seconds. Benny stood there for a bit, right at the mall entrance, just watching the rain come down, hoping maybe it would ease up. But nope. It just kept hammering the streets and seemed to be coming down harder, if anything. In the end, he thought, forget it, and made a run for it. Rain smacked against him, shoes splashing through puddles as he bolted across the road. Right next to the bus stop, there was this big tree, so he figured he'd take cover under it for a bit of shelter while he waited for the bus. It wasn't much, but in weather like that, even a little bit of cover felt like a blessing. It was then that he noticed a figure across the road. A woman holding a red umbrella walked slowly in his direction. At first, he assumed that she was also heading to the bus stop. She passed under the same tree, the bright red umbrella tilted overhead. For a moment, he considered asking her if he could walk with her under the umbrella, but as he looked closer, he realized something strange. Though she was carrying an umbrella, her entire body was soaked. Her long black hair clung to her face and dripped steadily with water, as if she had been standing in the rain unprotected. The sight unsettled him, and he decided against speaking to her. He also thought it might be kind of weird to ask a female that he doesn't know if she wants to share an umbrella with him. She might think of him as some kind of pervert or something. The woman walked past Benny, looking straight ahead, without even glancing at Benny at all. She went straight to the bus stop and stood there, with her umbrella open, protecting her from the rain. Benny checked his watch, 9:15 p.m., 10 minutes until the bus leaves. The driver hadn't arrived yet, but the bus was already parked there. The driver must be on a break until it's closer to departure time. It wasn't time yet, but Benny decided it would be better to run over and get in line now behind the woman. He sprinted through the rain and reached the bus stop and lined up right behind this woman. She wore an all-black outfit, black top and black pants. Her hair was so long it hid most of her face. Even with her back to him, something about her made his stomach tighten. At night, dressed like that, with a red umbrella, she just felt a bit off. He kept his distance and didn't get too close to her as he was standing behind her in line. Soon, the bus driver finally appeared 2 minutes before departure time. He unlocked the bus, and hopped into the driver's seat and reclosed the doors as he quickly set things up. A moment later, the front doors opened again for passengers to get on. Benny stepped forward, wallet in hand, ready to hop on and tap his card, but the woman before him didn't move at all. She just stood there, blocking his way. The driver watched Benny for a few seconds from the driver's seat, then called out impatiently from inside, "喂，先生，你想唔想㗎?" This translates to, "Hey sir, are you getting on or not?" As much as Benny wanted to get on, the woman remained motionless in front of him. Benny hesitated, then decided to squeeze past the metal railing and climbed aboard the back door. The driver watched him and scolded him again. "前面有門上都唔上，點解要喺後邊上嘅? What's wrong with you? The front door was open for you. Why are you squeezing through the back?" Benny wanted to explain that the woman at the front of the line didn't move, so he had no option, but instead kept his thoughts to himself. Better not to argue. He apologized to the driver, tapped his card to pay the fare, and then went to the second floor of the bus to sit down in the front. He normally liked sitting up there because he could get the best views. From his seat, Benny could still see the woman still standing downstairs on line. It was now 1 minute till departure. Finally, the woman moved. With her red umbrella still open, she climbed aboard. Most people normally close their umbrellas before hopping onto the bus. Benny's never seen anybody come on with an umbrella open. He also didn't hear her tap her octopus card, as usually when you tap to pay the fare, there's a very loud beep noise. Benny brushed it off, reminding himself it wasn't his concern and to mind his own business. The bus finally departed. His stop was only 6 stops away, about a 10-minute ride. Since the weather was so horrible, there was not a single passenger waiting for this bus along the way, so the bus didn't have to stop at any of these 6 stops to pick anyone up. Benny scrolled on his phone for a bit before he hit the bell to notify the driver to stop at the next stop. Benny was surprised at how quickly he made it home today. The bus pulled over at his stop, and as he descended to the lower deck, getting ready to exit, that's when he froze. The woman was still here. She was standing right beside the driver, just glaring at him. Her umbrella was closed now, held at her side. She was facing the driver. Her face was so close to his. It was as if she was pressed against him. Her long, wet hair dripped silently, soaking the floor. Benny stood there and just stared, realizing something even more unsettling. The driver showed no reaction. It was as if he couldn't see her at all. The driver once again snapped at Benny by calling out, "Why,你落唔落㗎? Hey, are you getting off or not?" Benny, snapping back to reality, stepped off the bus. He cast one last glance back onto the bus. The woman still stood there, silent, facing the driver. The driver closed the doors as soon as Benny stepped off, and the bus pulled away into the night. The driver looking as though nothing was wrong. Benny checked the news the next day, half expecting to read about a bus accident, but there was nothing. Perhaps, he thought, the woman was just a really weird person. Or perhaps she was a friend of the driver's. But then, why didn't the driver seem like he noticed her at all? Also, why was she standing so close to him like that? So, what do you think happened here? I personally think that this woman that Benny saw was a spirit and not the bus driver's friend. One detail that Benny shared that really stood out to me. This woman was using an umbrella, yet she was drenched from head to toe. This suggests to me that she wasn't truly using the umbrella as protection from the rain. In Chinese folklore, ghosts often mimic the living, but the imitation isn't always perfect. They copy gestures, behaviors, and appearances, but small details give them away. There's a mismatch between the action and the outcome, which is unsettling. For the living, an umbrella's obvious purpose is to keep you dry from the rain. But for a ghost, the umbrella might not be used in the same way. It's more symbolic, not functional. She may be carrying the umbrella as a ritual tool or as a remnant of how she died. But I think the main reason she was holding this umbrella is because it was an object that she saw abandoned on the side of the street and took residence in it. This is very common in Chinese ghost beliefs. An open umbrella creates a shaded pocket underneath it. This shadowed pocket from the umbrella is said to be attractive to wandering spirits, giving them a place to hide. Just like how we huddle under umbrellas for protection from the weather, it's believed that ghosts do the same, but not against rain. For them, the umbrella shields them against things like sunlight, temple incense, or other types of energies that might drive them away. So another question, why was this woman just standing there, glaring at this driver? Did she know him in her lifetime? Or perhaps from some other lifetime? It is possible, but there could be so many reasons why she was doing this. Restless spirits sometimes choose a person to latch onto, but sometimes they simply just need a ride. Sometimes it's targeted, for revenge. Other times, it can be totally random. Drivers, especially taxi and bus drivers, are seen as vulnerable targets because they're always alone, working late at night, and constantly traveling between liminal spaces like empty roads, tunnels, and remote stops. By glaring at him, she might have been signaling her intent to attach herself to him. We would need more information to figure out the full story behind this. Okay, let's go back to break down our first story that Emily shared. What happened here? The umbrella that Emily brought home was a different type of umbrella, but still an umbrella. This story relates to some of the concepts we've shared in the past episodes, revolving around tainted secondhand objects. In Chinese belief, objects offered for free, especially furniture, umbrellas, or things associated with shelter, are often seen with suspicion. The idea that nothing is truly free. If the price is missing, then payment may come in another form. Sometimes, the cost is spiritual. That seems to be the case here with Emily's umbrella. I think that the spirit of the man had been tied to this umbrella for quite some time already, before Emily ever touched it. When someone dies with unfinished business, like this man, since he never got to immigrate with his family, his spirit most likely clung to this umbrella. There's no way to tell if this umbrella was owned by him and his family during his time alive, or if he just found an abandoned one. But it seems to have become a vessel that held on to his lingering energy. So why did this umbrella look new to Emily? I think the fact that Emily saw this as a brand new item when she first picked it up suggests that the ghost created an illusion, a kind of covering to mask the true nature of an object, to lure the living into bringing it home. This transformation is often described as a kind of yamwan, or also known as yin glamour. The way a ghost manipulates what the living sees by cloaking reality in illusion. The man Emily saw, mumbling, "We will go soon," on some better, fits the archetype of a yunling, or restless spirit. He died before completing his wish of immigrating with his family. His words show his spirit stuck in a samgi, a mental knot of unfinished desire. Such spirits often attach to nearby objects tied to that wish. In this case, the umbrella may have been part of their moving belongings that got left behind, or simply just a random umbrella that became his vessel. The spirit of this man likely tied himself to this umbrella long ago, after his family left. The umbrella became his personal shelter, a vessel holding his unresolved longing. Emily, by bringing it to her home, invited him into her life. When she returned it, the haunting stopped, because she returned the spirit's vessel to its original resting place. Thank you so much, Hong Kong horror fans, for making it all the way to this point of the video. I hope you enjoyed tonight's stories. I look forward to speaking with all of you again next week.